Have you ever felt deep emotional pain from the loss of a loved one, job, from a relationship, or from any type of loss, and felt like your emotions were like a roller coaster? If so, you may have been experiencing grief. My name is Danica Richards, and I'm a social worker. In this video, I'll explain to you what grief is, and I'll help you to understand that your reactions are quite normal and part of the 5 stages of grief. Grief is a process of the natural emotional response to a loss. Grief is universal. Everyone at some point in their lives will experience grief, either through loss of a loved one, a job, a relationship, or anything that changes your life. Grief is also personal. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. Everyone grieves differently, but there are some commonalities in the stages and the order of feelings experienced during grief. The 5 stages of grief, the Kubler-Ross model, was developed in 1969 by a Swiss-American psychiatrist named Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She developed the model from working with ill individuals, and she made observations and noticed 5 of the most common emotional reactions to loss. The grief stages are not linear, meaning some people may not experience the stages in order or even experience all of the 5 stages. You may be stuck in one stage for a long period before moving on to another, or skip some stages. The model can be applied to all experiences of loss, including a breakup or divorce, job loss, loss of a pet, or anything or any loss that causes extreme pain. The first stage is denial. Denial is a common defense mechanism. Defense mechanisms are behaviors people use to separate themselves from unpleasant events, actions, or thoughts. So, in the denial stage in the grief process, you act as if the loss did not happen, which helps to numb or avoid the emotional pain that you feel. Denial gives you more time to process the loss because your mind is taking a while to adjust to this new reality. Here are some examples of statements that may be made during the denial stage. For a breakup or divorce, he just needs to cool off. He always gets like this. By tomorrow, it'll be okay. For a job loss, they'll call back tomorrow. It was a mistake. Death of a loved one, he is not really gone. And terminal illness diagnosis, this is not happening to me. These results are wrong. The second stage is anger. Anger is a masking effect. This means that your anger is covering up your true emotions and pain. You may redirect your anger at people or things. If you lost your relationship, you redirect your anger to your ex. If you lost your job, you redirect your anger to your old supervisor. Your rational brain knows that the target of your anger is not to blame, but your feelings in that moment are too intense to feel that. As your anger cools down, you may start to think more rationally and feel the emotions that you have been covering up. Here are some examples of statements that may be made during the anger stage. For a breakup or divorce, I hate him. Job loss, my supervisor is just terrible. I hope the company fails. Death of a loved one, if he had been more careful, this would not have happened. Terminal illness diagnosis, how can this be happening? God, why have you let this happen to me? The third stage is bargaining. Bargaining is a way to regain control of your situation. It is not uncommon to feel desperate that you are willing to do almost anything to get rid of the pain. There are many ways that you may try to bargain, such as creating a lot of what if, and if only statements. If you are religious, you may start to make deals or promises to God to bring back what was lost or to heal the pain. Here are some examples of statements that may be made during the bargaining stage. For a breakup or divorce, if only I had appreciated him more, he would have stayed. For a job loss, if only I had worked more hours, they would have kept me. Death of a loved one, if only I had gone with him, he would still be alive. Terminal illness diagnosis, if only I had gone to the doctor sooner, I could have prevented this. Or, I'll never miss church again or cheat again, God, if you bring him back. The fourth stage is depression. By this point, you start to embrace your true emotions instead of running from them as you did in the previous stages. The reality of your current situation hits, and you start feeling the severe sadness and emptiness of the loss even more, because you realize the personal situation is over. In this stage, you might pull inward, feel numb, and not want to get out of bed. You don't want to be around others, you don't feel like talking, and you experience feelings of hopelessness. You may experience suicidal thoughts thinking, what's the point in going on? It is important to note that depression in this stage is not a form of mental illness, and it is an appropriate response to a great loss. If, however, you feel stuck or unable to move past this stage of grief, talk with a mental health professional, and he or she would help you to get through this. Here are some examples of statements that may be made during the depression stage. For a breakup or divorce, I lost the other half of me. What's the use in moving on? For a job loss, I feel like a failure. I don't know where to go from here. Death of a loved one, I feel empty on the inside. Terminal illness diagnosis, so this is what my entire life has come to? The fifth and final stage is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean that you have moved past the grief and loss, but your emotions start to stabilize and you come to terms with your new reality. It is a time for adjustment and readjustment. You have some good days, you have some bad days. You may start back to engage with your friends and family, even build new relationships. You move, you grow, and you evolve into your new reality. Here are some examples of statements that may be made during the acceptance stage. For a breakup or divorce, this was a healthy choice for me. For a job loss, I will be able to find a new path and move forward. For the death of a loved one, I'm thankful for the time that we spent and the amazing years we had together. He will be in my heart and memories. For a terminal illness diagnosis, I have the chance to make the best of these few short months that I have left. So to sum everything up, grief is universal. Grief is very personal. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. Your feelings vary. Not everyone may go through all the stages of grief. You may not go through the stages in the exact order. There is no time limit on the grieving process, and seek professional help if necessary. If you found this video helpful, like and comment below and let me know your experiences. Hit the notification bell because in my next video, I'm going to show you ways to cope with grief and loss during the COVID-19 pandemic. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.